Please join me in our allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs were sinking in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Veterans Day Assembly. We will begin our program today by reading the Veterans Day Proclamation issued by President Biden on October 31st, 2024. Proclamation on National Veterans and Military Families Month, 2024. Each veteran and military family represents a link in a chain of honor that stretches back to our founding days, unwavering in their devotion to their loved ones who served in uniform. This month, we honor all of our military and veteran families. They too serve and sacrifice to answer our nation's call to duty. We owe them a debt of gratitude we can never fully repay. I often say that as a nation we have many obligations, but only one is truly sacred: to prepare and equip those we send into harm's way, and to care for them and their families when they come home. We are continually working to make sure that our nation's veterans and service members have access to the benefits and care they deserve. I have signed more than 34 bipartisan bills to better support our service members, veterans and their families, caregivers, and survivors. One of those bills is Sergeant First Class Keith Robinson honoring our promise to address Comprehensive Toxics Act, was the most significant expansion of benefits and services for toxic-exposed veterans and survivors in nearly 30 years. To date, more than 1.1 million veterans and over 11,000 survivors are now receiving the new service-connected disability benefits, and over 796,000 veterans have newly enrolled in Veterans Affairs Health Care since the law was enacted. This law is helping families who lost loved ones to toxic illness gain access to critical resources and services, including monthly benefits, educational assistance, loans, and more. Actions outlined in our national strategy to prevent military and veteran suicide are tackling the root cause of the military and veteran suicide crisis, including by better supporting families through the governor's challenge to prevent suicide among service members, veterans, and their families. And we are making progress in eliminating homelessness and improving financial security for veteran and military families. Too often, veteran and military families become the targets of bad actors and scam artists. my administration's Veterans Service Member Family Fraud Evasion Initiative is providing easy, one-stop access to resources, to report fraud, and to get help from the federal government to combat scams. Additionally, I signed an executive order that implemented historic bipartisan military justice reforms to transform how the military handles sexual assault and domestic violence cases. And I directed the Department of Defense to review pay and benefits for our service members, an important step toward ensuring their compensation reflects their service and sacrifice. Military-connected families sacrifice for our country, answering the call to duty over and over again. Many military and veteran spouses, caregivers, and survivors struggle to achieve their desired career and goals due to unique challenges military-connected families face. This is why I signed an executive order that takes the most comprehensive set of administrative actions in history to support the economic security of military families and veterans, spouses, caregivers, and survivors. I encourage federal agencies to do more to retain military spouses through flexible policies, ensuring they have access to stable jobs throughout their careers. Last year, I signed an executive order that directed more than 50 actions to improve the care economy, which included critical actions to better support military and veteran caregivers and expand access to military child care. These orders build on the efforts taken by my administration to improve the quality of life for military families, including initiatives to ease military moves, affordable housing, and find child care. Joining forces, the First Lady's initiative is working to better support military and veteran families, doing everything from making school transitions easier for military children to expanding economic opportunities for military spouses and caregivers. This is personal for my family and me. We know the pride of seeing your child wear the uniform of the United States. We know the pain of long deployments far from home. We know what it is like to pray for the safe return of someone you love. This month, may we show our immense gratitude for our military and veteran families, whose courage and dedication represent the best of who we are as a nation. Now, therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim November 2024 as National Veterans and Military Families Month. I call upon the people of the United States to honor veterans and military families with appropriate ceremonies and activities. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 31st day of October, in the year of our Lord 2024, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 249th. Joseph R. Biden Jr.
Storm clouds gather far across the sea. Let us swear allegiance to the land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. America, America, America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her
everyone. Today we are excited to welcome 1995 Decorah High School graduate Tate Kurtz as our guest speaker for today's program. Mr. Kurtz joined the Army Reserve in 1994 while he was a student walking these hallways at the age of 17. Upon graduating, Kurt left quickly for basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and went through advanced training in Fort Lee, Virginia. During his 2 6-year enlistments, deployments were made to Germany, El Salvador, and Kuwait, with his longest being to Iraq in 2003 and 2004. Kurtz completed his military career in 2006 and continues to be active in Winneshiek County with his service to Decorah VFW post-1977 and a member of the Winneshiek County Veterans Memorial Board. He owns and operates Viking Realtors, and he and his wife Natalie are the proud parents of Kylie, Kelby, and Heaton. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Tate Kurtz.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank the high school staff and the student body for continuing this annual tradition of hosting us Veterans Day for this program. A little history for some of you that may not know that this holiday was not originally called Veterans Day. Originally it was called Armistice Day. It was created in 1919, 1 year after the armistice was signed for the ceasefire at the end of World War I. It was, obviously the world had never seen anything like that, and they wanted to have a remembrance for that war in hopes that it would never come to anything like that again. As you all know, our country has been in plenty of wars since that time, and in 1954, they changed the name to Veterans Day to honor all veterans who have fought for our country through all the different wars and for all their service. A lot of people ask me, why did you join the Army? And the honest answer is, I really don't know. I was sitting in this very room 30 years ago, just like you guys were. I really didn't know what I wanted to do after school, and the Army Recruiter's office was in the same building as my dad's office, so from the time I was 10, they were always bugging me. They had a big open house event in November of that year. I went down and I came home and told my parents I was going to go join the Army. They were quite surprised because I never talked to them about it and I really didn't think about it much. All I know is they offered me free money for college and it sounded like fun, so I said, why not? So the spring of May of '95, I graduated high school on a Sunday. A few days later, I turned 18, and the next day after that, I left for Fort Jackson for basic training. So in 1 week, I did a lot of growing up. A lot of things happened. Like I say, I was a member here of the B Company, 389th, just across the street here. And back in the 90s, it was a construction unit, and we did a lot of service projects for the community. We did projects for the Girl Scouts, Park Rec, even the school district, Habitat for Humanity. Pretty much any nonprofit could come down with a project, get on a waiting list, and we'd do it. And that was what most of my career was. 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, doing those construction projects. Then 9/11 happened. As a lot of you know, the world changed a lot then. We went from doing community projects like that to all mission preparation for deployment. In 2003, it was just after Valentine's Day. I had a friend that worked full-time down here. He called me and said, you better get your stuff in line because orders are coming down. Sure enough, we got our activation orders in March. We moved down to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, spent 2 months there, and the Monday after Mother's Day, we got to come home for Mother's Day, and when we were driving back the following Monday, he called again and said, get your stuff in line, we're going wheels up tomorrow. 2 days later, I was sitting in Iraq. It was a great experience. I really did mind it. We did all kinds of missions over there. We did a lot of camp preparation as that was right when the war first kicked off. We built a lot of camps, built buildings to help train the Iraqi army. We did missions, run equipment and gear all over through the country. We even ended up on a training exercise 10 minutes from the Iranian border. As a young kid, I didn't think too much of it. Now looking back, I really wonder what they had in store for us. It was quite interesting. After that, we came home. I finished up my career up at Fort McCoy. I had a couple more years left up there, and then I retired out of the Army. A couple of things, I guess, that I'd like to relate to some of you kids about my time in the service is we worked with a variety of different people. When I went to basic training, there was kids from all over the country, all different races, creeds, we all, 100 of us got stuffed into a building, and it was like, you guys got to get along and make sure this happens. It's no different than what you guys do here. Whether it be in the classroom with a project, you got to learn to get along with people. You might not like it. There's a lot of people I didn't get along with and didn't care for, but you still had to make sure your mission got done. Same thing if you're on a team, a sports team, you're in the band, the choir. Nobody does it alone. You're always counting on somebody else to pull their weight, and somebody's counting on you to do the exact same thing. So you have to learn to get along and keep focusing and get stuff done. One other thing the Army really instilled in me is to not quit. No matter how bad it gets, you just need to learn to suck it up and drive on. Life doesn't get any easier. When you guys leave here, it's still hard and it gets harder. But just remember to stay focused and keep pushing through it. I hate running, and in the Army we did a lot of it. When I was running, all I think of is just, in my mind, I just kept telling myself, keep going. One step forward. Just take one step forward. No matter what task you guys are working on, just remember that. Take one step forward. You don't have to get to the end right away. Just take one more step and keep working your way through it. You'll get through it. You might not like it. There's a lot of things in life you won't like. But just keep pushing. Take that one step and keep going through it. It'll be okay. You'll get through it. Things have changed a lot post 9/11 as far as veteran recognition, in my opinion. When I was in school, we did not have this program. I know a lot of veterans, when they came home, there was no parades like we had, no fanfare. They just came home and went on with their lives. I was really lucky. They had a parade right through downtown Decorah, and the whole community came out and supported us, thanked us. The recognition is truly appreciated by all of us veterans. I want to just say thank you for that, because there's a lot of people that missed out on that through their younger part of their lives. Now, like I say, we do this program. We have the new Veterans Memorial that we just put up down at the other end of Water Street, which we're super happy about. Many of you people in here donated to that, made that happen. We're very lucky. We have the new VA clinic that's going up right now in town. Before that, there's a lot of veterans that had to drive 2.5, 3 hours to get to Iowa City or Toma. It was the nearest place for them to go. Now they can just drive here. I've heard from a lot of them, they really love it. It's so much more convenient. And that's part of that is from the community, the country as a whole, recognizing what veterans have done and appreciating us. I know one other thing we love doing down at the Vets Club is the 8th grade breakfast. Of you kids, how many of you in here worked in that breakfast in 8th grade? Raise your hand. There's quite a few of you. It's something we've done for years now, and it's a shameful plug. First and third Sunday of every month, come on down. It helps. All the money goes towards the 8th graders for their trip to Washington, D.C. So there's an old saying, I don't know who wrote it, but a veteran is someone who at one point in their life wrote a blank check payable to the United States of America for an amount up to and including their life. Millions of Americans have wrote that check, including these men and women sitting right here in this crowd today. They did that for you. So you guys can have the freedoms that we enjoy and everything that we do, because they appreciate and understand what the greater good is. I have one question for you guys to kind of ponder as you leave off here today. What would happen to our society and all our freedoms, our comforts, our expectations in life if no one stepped forward to serve in the military? There's a lot of countries around this world that don't have the freedoms that we have. So just think about that and appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Bob Loudon's arrangement of the Armed Forces Salute is one of the most widely performed arrangements that showcases 5 branches of our military, including the Army's The Caisson Song, the Coast Guard's Semper Paratus, the Marines' Hymn, and the United States Air Force, and then concludes with the Navy's Anchors Away. We ask if you have served or had a relative who served, or to support a friend who has served, to please stand during that respective branch. Also, we would like to request that everyone stand on the second chorus of the Navy's Anchors Away to show support for all the men and women who have served or are currently serving.
morning. On Veterans Day, we pause to reflect on the courage, sacrifice, and dedication of those who have served our country. I want to begin by thanking many individuals who made today's program possible. My thanks goes to Mrs. Fullhart, Mr. Elliott, our nutrition staff, and our culinary arts students for serving coffee and breakfast for our veterans and their families this morning. Let's give them a round of applause. I'd also like to express my gratitude to Denise Goldroot for gathering photos, creating our wall of veterans, and printing today's programs. Mrs. Fox for press releases promoting today's event, Mr. Bliven and the concert band, Mr. Roush and the concert choir for the musical performances, Mrs. Hocklesvik, Mr. Herka, Mr. Fensky, and Ms. Hoffman for selecting our students to serve as ushers and speakers at today's program, and of course Mr. Riley, who just did everything to kind of all the things I didn't think about today. So let's give all those guys a round of applause. Most importantly, I want to thank our veterans, military service members, and their families for their service and sacrifice. If you are a veteran or a current or former military service member, if you are able, please rise to be recognized. Before we conclude our program, I'd like to share a story, a reminder of the sacrifices that have secured the freedoms we enjoy every day. This is titled The Right to Sit at a Desk. On the first day of school in September 2005, Martha Cochran, a social studies teacher at Robinson High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, did something that will never be forgotten. On the first day of school, she removed all the desks from her classroom without prior approval or permission from the building principal or the superintendent. When the first period students arrived, they discovered there were no desks. Looking around, confused, they asked, "Miss Cochran, where's our desk?" She replied, "You can't have a desk until you tell me what you have done to earn the right to sit at a desk." They thought, "Well, maybe it's our grades." "No," she said. "Maybe it's our behavior." She told them, "No, it's not your behavior." And so they came and went during the first, second, and third periods. Still, there were no desks in the classroom. By early afternoon, television crews had started gathering in Miss Cochran's classroom to report on this teacher who had removed all the desks from her classroom. The final period of the day came, and the puzzled students found seats on the floor of the deskless classroom. Mrs. Cochran said, "Throughout the day, no one has been able to tell me just what he or she has done to earn the right to sit at these desks ordinarily found in the classroom. Now, I'm going to tell you." At this point, Mrs. Cochran went over to her classroom door and opened it. 27 U.S. veterans in uniforms walked into that classroom, each carrying a school desk. These veterans placed the school desks in rows, walked over, and stood alongside the wall. By the time the last soldier had set the final desk, those kids had started to understand, perhaps for the first time, just how the right to sit at those desks had been earned. Mrs. Cochran said, "You didn't earn the right to sit at these desks. These heroes did it for you. They placed the desks here for you. Now, it's up to you to sit in them. You are responsible for learning and being good students and citizens. They paid the price so that you could have the freedom to get an education. Don't ever forget it." That's a true story. Living in the United States days, we enjoy freedoms that many worldwide do not. These freedoms are safeguarded by the sacrifices of veterans who have defended them and by the dedication of soldiers, active duty service members, and reservists who continue to uphold them. Veterans Day holds a special meaning for me because of my father, who served in the U.S. Army, including a tour in Vietnam. The values he gained through his military service, resilience, work ethic, and service to others, didn't just shape his life, they became qualities he instilled in us as children. Like so many veterans, he returned with the visible and invisible wounds, carrying the challenges of service long after his return. My father rarely spoke of the harsh realities of war, yet he made countless trips to the VA over the years as he faced numerous health issues related to his service until he ultimately passed away in 2021. His experiences remind us of the sacrifices our veterans and their families continue to make upon returning home. As we conclude today's Veterans Day program, I ask each of us to reflect on what it truly means to serve. On the battlefield, our soldiers put aside their differences to stand together, united under one flag, representing one country. Their courage and commitment remind us that we are bound by the values of freedom they fought to protect. Let today inspire us to honor their legacy by coming together, finding common ground, and strengthening our nation as they did, side by side, for a cause greater than themselves. Our veterans, active duty service members, and reservists have devoted their lives to protecting and serving, often setting aside personal dreams to secure a future. They embody the values that define our nation's strength, reminding us that the freedoms we enjoy are both hard-earned and continually safeguarded by their sacrifices. I now ask you to rise, if you can, in a moment of silence in honor of the American veterans and those who continue to serve in home and abroad on their day, November 11th. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. Let's give another round to our choir and our band for their wonderful performance. At this time, our program is concluded. We will start by allowing veterans and their families to leave. Students, just sit tight until we get everybody else out of here.